I think that in the long run, Wike is going to live to regret these positions he's running now. He's going to live to regret it. Why I said he's going to regret it is that in the end, he will have to make up his mind. How long can he play this politics this way? History is going to record this moment. And when history records this moment, what will history record in his name? If he's not careful, and I wish he knows what to do, I'm not his advisor, history may record this Wike as a person who destroyed the PDP. And that's a very damn position to have historically, because tomorrow will come. And the 2027 election has not been done. Imagine, just close your eyes and imagine we win. When I say we, I mean if the opposition is able to find themselves, gather together, strengthen themselves, stop playing games and get serious with the work, and we win. And then the morning after, we now have to do the audit of the past era. Where do you think Wike is going to find himself?
Our guest today is Otunba Segun Showunmi, the Odofin of KC Abeokuta, the promoter of the alternative movement, and also a PDP chieftain. Let's get right into it. And let's start with yesterday's event unfortunate event at Edo State, at the home of former governor of Edo State, Chief John Odigio, incidentally, former APC party chair. There were ADC bigwigs having a meeting at his home, Peter Obi and a few others, and they were shot at. Now, I've listened to the spokesperson of Mr. Peter Obi, the Obedient Movement, who claimed that was an assassination attempt. Are we back to the days of Harry Marshall, Funshaw Williams, Aminu Asari Dokubo, and the rest of that? What's going on?
Those of you who have the privilege of investigative journalism, and your colleagues who also have bylines and who some on-air personalities, I think we have gotten to a point now where we need to now produce a guide book to remind you people that you cannot run with the narrative of one side. It's a little bit unfortunate that people went there and there was evidence of gunshots around the gates and some of those things that can be very worrying, extremely condemned, and must be investigated thoroughly. But I do not accept the single narrative that it could have been any other thing but infighting within their party. Because if you follow, I'm following through one of the commentary I saw on AIT, I think, where Senator Obi was complaining very bitterly that they were supposed to be at that meeting, ADC to ADC, and all of that. So how do you know whether it's not an infighting within the organization? Whatever the case may be, journalists must remember that it is their duty to help us find the facts, while it is that of the police to carry out investigation. I am not convinced that anybody should be trying to play politics with criminal activities, and I think that it's an unfortunate thing. And my friend, the governor of Edo State, whom I know and love very dearly, I'm sure he's going to be very interested in getting to the roots of this. So until investigations are completed, we should be careful not to overheat the polity or allow people play cheap politics with what is a serious criminal event.
Segun, you know, I mean, us in SYMFONI, we don't take sides. We're very neutral.
No, I've answered you the way I should.
We're very neutral. No, because you said, you know, we shouldn't run with a single narrative.
Exactly.
It was a question I asked you.
And I've answered you. And that which I said, if you reflect on it, you will know that it is to guide us in the country, lest we destroy our own country with our own.
So far, because there was something you said, so far, ADC has not had any history since they knew ADC, I mean.
There's always a first time to...
Just hold on, Segun. They've not had any history of skirmishes or infighting within their fold. So it is strange to Nigerians and really worrying. Don't forget, Mr. Peter Obi had made some serious allegations against the federal government that they've been, you know, after his life. He's made those allegations here in the public space. I'm sure you've seen them. You follow, you know.
Well, I think that's what I would say.
So, sorry, Segun. So I'm just asking once again, let's lay this to rest once so we don't have to come back to it. I hope, in your view, I hope we're not back to the days of political assassinations. Very important. Because Mr. Peter Obi, Mr. John, these are high-level politicians. What do you think?
My brother.
Yes.
I revert back to what I said originally, which is that those of you that have bylines on-air personalities and journalists generally must be careful that you do not take serious matters that requires policing investigation, run with narrative that colors and even undermines the work of those who are to investigate. I was very clear when I said to you that I heard on television that another faction of their party complained very bitterly as to them not being able to access meeting and all that. Under that kind of scenario, it becomes the job of the police to find out the remote cause, who are those, why would they be even having guns, are they licensed and all that. And as journalists, I expect that your approach must always be caution, must always be, this must not be the path, but more importantly, must be investigative. It's too risky for you to run narrative that suggests that sinister things are being done by people that you can hardly unmask and then give the impression that maybe some kind of Harry Marshall assassination is what is at stake. Nobody is trying to assassinate anybody, to the best of my knowledge. And if Peter Obi believes that he has credible evidence that someone is trying to assassinate him, for anyone who wants to run a country, I'll expect him to put a petition to the Nigerian police and try to ask and demand that he investigate it. Two, I'll also expect him to be not so careless with his movement. When you show up without security, under the circumstances we find ourselves, God forbid you run into kidnappers and they kidnap you. Would it then mean that everybody that is kidnapped in the country is done because some people are politically motivating them? Any high network person now must be clear about the need to be guided, careful, and all of the things you say about it even doesn't mean anything to me. As far as I'm concerned, when political season is on season, we must be very careful. The police must be very firm. Security must be very deep. Our deep state assets, which is our secret, the whole works, must insist that everybody gets the memo that this country is not going to be allowed to be run as if it's a banana republic. And I can't say more. If any other evidence that is credible and validated comes, then we can talk about it. But I will not run with the idea that somebody is trying to kill them. And even if there was, maybe they're trying to kill themselves.
In the context, let's contextualize it briefly. Sometime last year, Mr. Peter Obi went to Edo State.
It's about Peter Obi.
Just hold on, Segun.
So that you can call this.
Let's clear this. Let us clear this, please. Very important.
I know.
The public, it's a developing issue.
They don't like
The
that.
governor of Edo State, Mr. Monday Okwebula, had said he cannot guarantee, had advised that he cannot guarantee Peter Obi's safety if he came to Edo State and all of that, So in that context, because when you dog whistle, Segun, hold on. When you dog whistle or signal to, there are very funny people everywhere. Political hirelings could interpret the governor's statement to mean, if he shows up here, go after him. What do you think? Let's conclude.
Interpretations are yours to interpret. Every statement can be interpreted in the normal rule, the rest rule, the mischief rule, and all that. That's not what I'm saying. I know that what the governor was saying, which is Peter Obi, what he was saying was that, look, you cannot. The environment is now too charged. Insecurity, we are contending with a lot. So many things are happening that requires us to be on our high guard. You are a high network individual. Peter, if you are coming into our state, courtesy demands that you let me know so that I provide the necessary security. If you read it any other way, it's good for you. But that's the way I read it. I do not mean that no governor will say, if you come to my state, you'll be killed. What he's saying is that the situation on the ground anywhere is so fluid. You are not the kind of guy that can come in and people will not gather and all that. And it produces challenging security. Yeah, and it is good for him to say the simple courteous thing is send us a message that you are coming so that we provide. If he had been killed yesterday, you guys would have just been yapping away and he would have been dead. And it would be down to carelessness. If he had really told the governor, he's been a governor before, and they had provided security, then there could be culpability on their side, because then they have liabilities. They provided security. But if you come in there and you don't provide security, am I supposed to tell you that I know who did what and when? I like to tell Nigerians that, look, our conversation now must always be pro our country, pro development, and pro moderation. I do not want overheating of the polity only because people are playing to the gallery. Anybody could have even staged that just to, if you like, curry some sympathy, especially after a very dismal and extremely embarrassing show they had in Abuja. Those kinds of things are possible in the mind of a sinister strategist.
Brilliant. Let's move away from that
Thank you.
and come back to what I think bothers you or what concerns you. Now, your party, the PDP, there was a federal high court judgment recently that more or less conferred, ownership or leadership of the party on the Wiki-led executive. Now, the question is, let's be frank, Shegun, don't give us,
I haven't said anything.
don't give us political responses. Be very upfront with Nigerians. Who is the chairman of your party? Is it the Wiki-installed executive or the Turaki-led executive?
You want frank?
Absolutely.
There can be no basis for any action taken in spite of 2 court judgments stating and clearly saying otherwise. And upon the expiry of the Damagum-led executive, the only leg available for the PDP now is the Anyanwu caretaker. Had Anyanwu been careless to allow the time to expire of that executive, we would have been in bigger trouble than we are now. So if you ask me, the only executive that can be known to law, and that's what we're beginning to get, is the one that says it's a caretaker. Now, before the Court of Appeal, and all the arguments are in, I believe that the judges are now about, putting the judgments together, and maybe they will be called upon, given a date to come and hear their judgment. Therefore, we should be careful not to stimulate the conversation one way or the other. But if, within reasonable limits, our own understanding of how the law works or how the law ought to work is anything to go by, you will not be able to build anything, something or nothing. And it will be incredulous to imagine that upon the interpretation of both Lifu and Omotosho, the Ibadan executive can see the light of the day. That's one. 2, I'm interested in these matters and I've followed it. I've read a minority judgment of Milord Abang in the Court of Appeal, which substantially wrote and agreed with Justice Omotosho to the extent that don't interfere. It's not a blanket opportunity for you to sit in your party, break each other's head, come to court and tell the court to tell you that. And I know that even though it was a minority judgment in one other case, it has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court have agreed, rightfully, with Justice Okonabang, rightfully, with the position of Omotosho, that within certain context, the court still has an opportunity to make some pronouncement based on the matters we bring before them. And in this particular case, I do not see, I may be wrong, I do not see how you can sidestep Lifu, Justice Lifu, sidestep Justice Omotosho, and claim that the judge will now help you to encourage your recidivist tendencies, which is your consistent desire not to obey court orders. It's best you don't go to court, but once you go to court, you must be sensible enough to obey the orders. But hey, magic do happen. The Supreme Court is a court of policy, and it can also, by policy, come up with any other things. Until the judgment is here, they will have to just wait.
So in a nutshell, currently, the Wiki-led executive...
when you call it Wiki-led, it really offends me. It offends me personally, because I do not like the idea of an organization as big, with the kind of history of PDP, being called one person's own. It really gets on my nerve. You may say supported. He's not a member of that caretaker committee, and it is within his right to support whoever he wants to support. But what I'm saying is that within the Damagum-led NWC that we had before, which is the spin-off of the IU-installed NWC, it is the caretaker that can be recognized because they were clever enough to institute their caretaker before the expiration of that tenure. And therefore, technically, that is still the Damagum-led NWC.
I don't know why you're offended. Wike has never minced words in letting the whole world, not just Nigerians, know that he more or less, pretty much decides what happens or doesn't happen in the PDP. He has said it, that nothing would happen.
If you do not say the Bola Tinubu-led NWC to APC, I take offense to the fact that you are reducing the PDP to a Wike-led, and I'm very...
Is that not correct?
It's not correct. If you cannot say the Bola Tinubu-led APC, then don't you dare say the Wike-led, because Wike is not a member of that NWC caretaker, and just as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a member of the Natawe NWC. The point I'm trying to make, which I hope you get persuaded, and if you don't, good. but I'm still making it, is that to strengthen democratic institutions, we must consciously refuse to personalize it, no matter how tempting that is. Because if we do that, let me tell you what will happen. Over time, we will not have institutions. We will only have cult of human personalities. So this which I do is not out of naivety. It is to introduce a serum into the system that allows us to stop personalizing everything. If Wiki is supporting them, yes, he is. If he has some influence in it, yes, he does, but do not call it the Wiki-led. If you cannot call APC the Bola Tinubu-led. What is sauce for the gander is sauce for the goose.
Okay, this question dovetails into my next question. The G5, Seyi Makinde,
former G5.
Former G5, Seyi Makinde, Governor, FCT Minister, former Governor River, Wike, Okezie-Ikpeazu, Governor Samuel Oto, and all of them. Anyway, so they were very chummy. You know, they had lots of camaraderie amongst themselves. They pretty much scuttled former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's presidential ambition 2023. Yeah, they pretty much did. I mean, they made sure they didn't win Rivers. Shegun, let me ask the question, then you can respond. They made sure they neither campaigned in Rivers nor won. So, and they delivered for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They delivered for him. And the G5 did not hide their position, you know. Now, the question is, suddenly, they've fallen apart, at least when Governor Makinde of Oyo State has broken ranks with them, especially the FCT minister. They seem to be at loggerheads, not even seem, they are at loggerheads. To the point where allegations were made by Governor Seyi Makinde that they were having a meeting with President Bola Tinubu, and at that meeting, Wike, off the cuff, promised the president that he would hold down, his words, hold down the PDP for the president to ensure the president gets re-elected 2027. Of course, Mr. Wike denied. The question is, do you believe Governor Seyi Makinde? Who do you believe?
You see, I want us to differentiate asking a question from having a dialogue.
Yeah.
If you want to ask a question, keep it simple.
Okay.
But if you
No, I just need to give you a context.
If you want to ask a question, keep it simple.
Do you believe Seyi Makinde?
I don't.
Why?
Because I know them all. I've been in this party since it was registered. And I've been loyal, faithful, diligent with this party from the get-go, and I've never left. I've had the grace and the honor and the dignity of watching even my father, Obasanjo, tear his card. As much as I love him, Segun Sale, I didn't leave the party. I've had the privilege of watching my beloved senior brother, Governor Benga Daniel, leave the party a few times. As much as I respect his vision and his ideas, I've never left. I've watched my former principal, Atiku Abubakar, leave a few times. I've never left. So when I talk about PDP, I'm not talking as an outsider. I'm talking as one of their totem who was actually carrying them. I knew when they all came. See, the thing I say, because of the way you couched it, is that at Governor Seyi Makinde's last birthday, last part, I wrote him a letter where I tried to say, look, you guys, the five of you, succeeded to the extent of creating a movement of your own, and you fought very hard to make a point in the 2023 election. Although I don't believe you won the election for the president, that's a lie. They've been winning elections without Rivers, and even if they didn't get Rivers, perhaps I don't know what would have happened. Congestion, they contributed, but I hate when people take the glory of other people's work. And I then said to Governor Seyi Makinde, you guys, you must go back to your 4 friends, your 5 friends, and you guys go and sort it out. Because not sorting it out with your 5 friends is going to leave the party worse off. I can accept that you had a political struggle with the mainstream, if you like, and maybe you guys think you won. Okay. But now that you're fighting or you're not agreeing with yourself, why don't you go back to that same energy that allowed you to agree, so that you can use that energy inside to agree, and then we can lead the party? Why was I saying that? Because I knew that we're going to be pluralized beyond common sense. You can't have a G1 fighting a G4. You can't. You will try, but you may not succeed, and it's beginning to pan out. When people ask questions and I answer honestly, it's not because I want to take side. It's because I have the benefit of long-term play in this space. And I know how things can sometimes be. Nobody has a magic wand, but I knew that if Seyi Makinde, Bala Mohammed, Wike, Fintiri were not, if they were chummy, the 4 of them would have been able to have some robustness to say, okay, this is the position. That they are not seismic twins. where nobody's a Sesame twins in politics. Sesame twins in politics. The umbilical cord can be cut, and it can be cut because of interest. It can be cut because of disagreement, even something very small and personal. It can be cut because I see it this way, you see it. Wike is even the most consistent of them. His position in 2023, and when I do this, you people make it seem as if I'm his man. Wike doesn't even, he's not my man like that. I'm just a realist. In the middle of the 2020, Sheyi and Wike and co agreed and said that their problem was that they needed a southern president and it should be somebody of the south. That was the argument. And it was a little bit persuasive because Buhari had just finished 8 years. Wike is still standing there. What changed with Sheyi? He's no longer there. Okay, maybe he wants to be the president. Not a problem. It's within everybody's right to have ambition. Shouldn't he not have tried to convince his 4 friends so that they'll be on the same page with him and they can try? And if he really believes that his position is that, oh, Wike wants to hold down the party for APC, I think that when people attribute too much to an individual, they're only saying that they are lazy, they are stingy, they are unstrategic, and they are not painstaking. Because no one man should have the powers to do that much, except that when the work is there to be done, everybody pretends that they don't know how to do the job, then the one man does the job. When the funding is required to be spent, everybody pretends they cannot find money, then that one man spends. So if you convert it into one man doing all the donkey work, if he has all the influence, good luck. Good luck.
Let me ask you a straightforward question, and I know you should be a very upfront person. So, because Nigerians are watching, so
I know.
Give them a very upfront response. Seyi Makinde made these heavy allegations against Wike. Now, everything that has panned out, that has played out from that statement, is it materially, evidentially, is it different from what has Governor Wike not done exactly what Seyi Makinde alleged? Remember the horrific show at the PDP Wadata headquarters when they were going to have a meeting and FC Minister, former Governor Wike, went there with policemen, and people could have lost their lives. What's your response?
I cannot hold brief for him because I'm not on his payroll, and I hardly even meet him. The way you read things in the public is the same way I consume them. Sometimes I don't even have the opportunity of having him to say, dude, why did you do this? You get? But you can, after you've been part of the Nigerian political process since 1998, and you are still there, you can draw inferences. And that's all I do. The Wadata issue, if they had gone to Ibadan to do a parallel Congress on the day that Seyi Makinde was doing his Congress in Ibadan, would it have been reasonably imagined that the governor will have the wherewithal to prevent them? Of course he would. Now, if they are coming to Wadata House, which is the symbol of the authority of the PDP, a secretariat that even has a lot of issues with its ground rent, I was gone blazing, speaking and shouting and screaming on Wiki said that please go and solve that problem. That party must not lose the secretariat. If you people want to go there, go and start fighting yourself. And he's the chief security officer of the state, and he provides some security, albeit you believe that he provided it for his friend. Should he have provided security for his enemies if he has a role? So, you see, let us demystify individuals in process thinking. I do not accept that the PDP is right to be in court with itself. I do not accept that brothers who have broken bread together should be fighting a zero-sum game. I don't accept. It is tiring, but the fact remains that once you go to court, you must be disciplined enough to say, as your lordship pleases. You know why they say, as your lordship pleases? I'll tell you. They usually say, as your lordship pleases, because they know that his position must be respected, but it is not necessarily because I accept, but he has said. And that the world created that so that we don't have everybody doing self-help. I've told you, we have now luckily gone before the Court of Appeal. They appealed. Thankfully, the President of the Court of Appeal has consolidated all the appeal. All the arguments have been argued before a competent Court of Appeal jurisdiction, competence, jurisdiction. Now, we are awaiting the judgment. When the judgment comes, I don't know what the judgment will read. They will have one more opportunity to go to the Supreme Court. If they will listen to people like me, the judgment should provide us with the opportunity to say, okay, we have exhausted the quarrel. Let us now come together. Because I don't see how any one individual can make a party win. We're looking at our rivals. They are shopping and taking everybody on board. It's becoming tedious to even imagine how are we going to even go against them. Anybody will go against them. And all we want to be doing is quarreling. I put in 26, 27 years in this party. If I am unhappy, I have every right to be, because at the end of the day, I cannot see what they are fighting against. If Wiki is the issue, how did it become the issue? I don't think Wiki was the issue in 1999. It could not have been the issue in 2003. It couldn't have been the issue in 2007. It was certainly not the issue in 2011. How could it have been the issue in 2015? If you call him the issue in 2019, you are just being unfair. If he becomes the issue in 2023, what did you guys do to him to make him so hostile?
Let's be balanced. Let's adopt there's a textbook I love so much, balanced scorecard. Mm-hmm. So let's adopt a balanced, strategy, to both tendencies in the people.
Yeah.
Number one, is Mr. Wike playing the role of a mercenary? That is one. Number two, Sheyi Makinde, Bala Mohammed of Bauchi, Adamu Fintiri, and a few of them, who went to organize that convention in Ibadan that the court has now said, was illegal and all of that because he went against a court pronouncement. Were they wrong? Did they commit a political blunder? So these two questions.
I think what I would say is that, it's very painful. Taminu Mohammed, the chairman of that contraption, would have really been the type of material you need as chairman. And since he was not the main organizer of that process, I can't hold him responsible for that. But what I would like to say is that there were two issues on the table. The first issue is Lifu. What did Lifu say? Jigawa man, Lamido, was the one who went to court to say he was prevented from buying a form. I have slept over this more than 100 times, asking myself, what's the big deal in selling a form to Sule Lamido? We would have done consensus of some sort, unity list. And if you guys didn't want to make Sule Lamido chairman, he wouldn't have made it anyway. Why put us in a situation where we had a judgment saying because you didn't sell form to Lamido, don't go ahead? That's a very big issue. In the Omotosho matter, Omotosho said, Omotosho, a very smart judge, he said, INEC, you can't go there until they purge themselves of issues within their own their constitution. What were the issues? Go and complete the congresses where due. Go and ensure that the zonal congresses are done so that a significant numbers will not be disenfranchised. These are elementary textbook law. And if the judgment came, when you were going ahead, did you expect Justice Lifu or Justice Omotosho to come and strangle you or prevent you? They can't do that. They've written the judgment cast in iron. You can do whatever you want that you say is against it. Now you are in court. You are before the Court of Appeal. From some of the judgments and the way we have been reading, we know that clearly even a judgment has come from Ibadan to tell you that you are not even to be recognized, you are not to be paraded, you are not even to parade yourself as those titles. If the other side was as hostile as they should be, they should have demanded contempt on you because there's a court that says don't even parade. So that's that. In terms of whether Wike is playing the mercenary, I think that in the long run, Wike is going to live to regret these positions he's running now. He's going to live to regret it. The reason why I say this is that I understand that the South, all of us from the South, we are all on the same page as to the fact that we want the presidency to stay in the South. And by that, it is so that we can respect the pendulum. It was in the North for 8 years, it's in the South now. So that can color his action and the actions of a lot of Southern governors who are the coming. But what I wanted, why I said he's going to regret it is that in the end, he will have to make up his mind. How long can he play this politics this way? The totality of people in the country are about 200 million plus, some of them young, and history is going to record this moment. And when history records this moment, what will history record in his name? If he's not careful, and I wish he knows what to do, I'm not his advisor, history may record Yusuf Wike as a person who destroyed the PDP. And that's a very damn position to have historically, because tomorrow will come. And the 2027 election has not been done. Imagine, just close your eyes and imagine we win. When I say we, I mean if the opposition is able to find themselves, gather together, strengthen themselves, stop playing games and get serious with the work, and we win. And then the morning after, we now have to do the audit of the past era. Where do you think Wike is going to find himself? Where do you think some of them? So when you are playing in the public space, you have to play knowing fully well that, yes, the position of the devil is also a beautiful position for those who want to be called agents of the devil. But ultimately, the position of Jesus Christ is the one beautiful one. And I think it's best for everybody to chase what is good for them, their children, and their unborn generation. But hey, it's up to Wike to do whatever he likes with himself.
Brilliant. I was going to ask you if some people believe Wike is being given one single mandate by the president.
I know the president more than Wike. He probably started interacting with the president. I've been interacting with the president since 1994. President is not that kind of person. Bola is not that kind of person. He's not that. Listen, oh God, you guys don't even know your president. Ashadu is not that kind of person that needs you to come and able to do anything. More than likely, they are the ones that will even be running on the floor, rolling on the floor, trying to show him that they are more loyal to him than even his own biological children. That's the kind of fellow he is. He plans for disappointment. He plans his own game. He works very hard. He puts his money where his mouth is. He ensures that he has science on his side. He wakes up at night thinking about all the important things. He knows his own pathway. He knows his pathway. Don't forget, in 2011, he took a pathway. They didn't succeed. In 2015, they took a pathway. They succeeded. And when they succeeded in 2015, he didn't include rivers. Neither did he include the South-South. Neither did he include the Southeast. And when he wanted to do a re-election for Buhari, he still didn't include rivers. He still didn't include the Southeast. And he got a re-election. Now he's won his own election. Yeah? And when he was trying to win his election, he did not include the Southeast. It included only a small part of the South-South. But he did not include, and he still won. Now he's president. He's trying to do re-election. I believe he's not told me he's going for re-election, but let's just take it to the bank that he's going for re-election. He's trying to do re-election. Do you see him like kind of person who is relying on the last playbook? He's smarter than them. I'm not afraid of saying that. Because he doesn't make assumptions that he's going to win the next election by the assumption with which he won the last. So what do you see him do? He's begging people. He's putting a lot of structures in the grassroots. He's setting up movements, city boy movement. He's inviting governors. He's speaking to people. He's making everybody a little bit nice. He's even getting people like us to see some of the positive things he's doing. Some of his ministers are inviting us to come and see. They're not forcing me. They're not telling me to come and join their party. Just say, come and look. You have a critical mind. Come and look. If you see something, tell us. That's how to win. And if he then wins now, you are going to say, come and search out the wicked, this wicked. And listen, the president that I know, I don't know whether you have fingered his brains since you took him into Aso Rock. The president that I know plans for the betrayal of even the most closest ally. How much more that of a turncoat?
I believe I know the president much more than you.
Maybe too. Maybe.
I knew him in 1993 at Mobile. I was a young...
Fantastic. That means that you started knowing him at Mobile.
I was a young intern at Mobile.
Fantastic. That means... I want to tell you what okay. That means that you've worked with him in Mobile.
Not directly with him.
No, I know, but the fact that you knew his name.
No, I knew him. I was auditor there.
Okay, fantastic. Was your auditor in Mobile? You were too junior. You probably not engaging him.
I saw him.
You worked there. You know how I knew him?
Yeah.
I knew him on the strategy sessions that was run by people who ended up getting you this democracy.
Let's get on. Now, this is the point. You made a very...
I'm not claiming that I know him more than everybody.
We all understand. It's a contextual statement. Yeah, of course. Now, the president is not relying on one individual.
Never does.
But we remember when the president went to the National Assembly, I think it was a budget presentation speech. He said people are afraid of him turning, they are alleging that he's going to turn Nigeria into that. He's not going to do that.
He's not interested.
But he said that I would also not stop them if they want to, self-destruct. That's a very loaded. Number two, Governor Seyi Makinde, a governor. So we expect him not to be a liar. At least not a cheap liar. No, hold on. The president told Governor Seyi Makinde that Seyi Makinde said to the president, oh, is it because you want Adelabu Tinubu, Adelabu Bayo to take over as governor? That's why you made a minister. Tinubu said, no, I want you to go and work for me. He told Seyi Makinde, a PDP governor, to go and work for him in ABC. Now, but then the biggest evidence of all, why make Wike FCT minister, if not to do a hatchet job, as it's been alleged, that Wiki has been asked to play the role of an undertaker. And sorry, Shegun, Turaki, the so-called chairman of the PDP, just a quick question, now said, if the courts give Wiki faction, that's the end of the PDP. What do you say?
Okay, oh God, you see, lovely, but let me say this.
Yes.
If a president looks at a rival governor, if you like, and says, are you trying to make Adelabu? And then, no, I'm not, I even want you.
Yeah.
That will tell you the essence of the kind of politician that Ashaju is. There is no way he will say, I even want, if I said to you, I want you. Even if it's just that little bit, it will soften you because you will think that instead of him to be hostile and say, no, I'm good, he will say, I want you. You may not agree, you may not go, but at least he didn't say, I don't want you. Yeah. Politics is a game that asks for inclusion, not exclusion. Even the most stubborn child, a leader must bring him close because it's better managed close than leaving him outside to just be doing whatever he wants. So that's a plus, not a minus, really. In terms of whether the PDP will die, even if Wiki wins, I can guarantee you one thing. Oh God, this party, if it was to die, it was meant to die when Obasanjo tore his card. The man who tore his card that day ended up even campaigning for PDP and Atiku on the same PDP platform. I think that I've been asking myself, so that you get where I'm coming from, Shegun, do you have the stamina to still continue to pump this party even if and when it loses? Therefore, so that you can also be trying to make it alive, or have you gotten to your wit's end? There are a lot of PDP people asking the same question. And I have a feeling that when the die is finally cast and it is settled, I have a feeling that they're going to look at the APC, their house style, their inability to do democracy within their party system where it's just command and control, one person backs other. If the other favors you, all well and good. But if they can look at their immediate past national secretary, former deputy governor, former senator, secretary that organized the congresses that even cleared the likes of Bola Tinubu to be president, if they can look him straight in the face and tell him that he did not make clearance in their party, any Democrat who wants the long-term play should be scared. Shegun Showunmi, don't even let me deceive you. I love Ashaju to the extent of how I know his mind works and what he's doing. There are a lot of things I don't agree with him. We both know that. But up to the extent that, okay, in terms of the economy, what is the thought processes? What was the alternative? What could have been better? What is available? What are the others even saying? They are What are they even saying? What can you break down, couple, and say, okay, this is the direction? What's the policy that they are talking about? I like him. But liking Bola Tinubu is not a sufficient condition to go and join a political party that is run the way they run their party. I expect the APC to implode. So, to that extent, whatever the outcome of the now, PDP is going to survive.
Brilliant. But let me ask you pointedly. I think you've alluded, but I want you to be clear for our viewers. So, however the case goes, if the faction you seem to have soft spot for, if they lose, is that enough to make you leave?
You mean if Shemakine lose?
Yes.
Is
that enough to make you leave the PDP?
No, I will not. You see, I even have a feeling that if they lose, they themselves they will go and do an introspection and realize that you win some, you lose some. Some of them are romancing the ADC anyway, and some of them may be tempted to say they are going to the ADC, but they will go and lose together with that one. And some of them, they will lose. Some of them are probably also already talking to the presidency and the APC in the back. Some of them will find accommodation. You know, the thing that we have done that I don't like, and I want your audience and you to also help me think through it. This democracy was not envisioned to be a place where it will always be about individual ambition. If we had not run the risk of having the Obasanjo and the Atiku them say that president is leader of party, governor is leader of party. If we had not made that fundamental error at the beginning of this republic, these things would not have been this way. Because what we are seeing now is that people are interpreting their own love of tickets, their desire to get platform. They are interpreting it to mean the be-all and end-all of political party. I have lost tickets. I've lost struggle for ticket once. I've won ticket once. And I didn't win the first time when I won a ticket to go to the House of Rep. I came second. The PDP in other election, he came fourth. I called the person I won and I congratulated him. He did not do anything spectacularly than I could have done, and I'm sure I would have done far better than them. But it didn't upset me that much. You know why? Because I understand that the party can survive. At least we did a good show. Let's continue. I tried to be governor in 2023. We went all the way to the Court of Appeal. I was locked in at the Supreme Court. The case was not called. And when the chips came down to it, I said to myself, what am I supposed to do now? I still supported the party and won with large margin. I'm running, I'm trying to be governor even now. I'm pushing very, 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 very hard to be governor. I feel I'm a good material for that office. But I've not dumped the PDP. Rather than dump the PDP, what I created was the alternative movement so that I can be reorientating the society according to some of my own ideals using that platform. Instead of running the risk that it will be seen like I'm supporting one side against the other in PDP. But hey, when you are a student of political science and the workings of politics, you must not pretend not to see what is fact before you. Honestly, if Sam Daddy, if he was wrong, he's my friend, I would have not supported him. But he is right. He is right to the extent that it was the constitution of the PDP that allowed him to hold on to secretary while being governor. You can't blame him for taking advantage of the law which you created. When he came back, if you people had not been fighting yourselves, he would be secretary, all of you would take decisions together. When they wanted to start this hopeless fight, I went to all of them and said, guys, never mind what we outside see. You guys have to be united, otherwise give us problem. They didn't listen. We went all the way to court. I followed him, or I went to listen to the judgment the day they were reading it finally in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was very clear that Nemeka Anyanwu is secretary. 5 minutes after they gave that judgment, what did they do? They went and started doing something to pretend as if, even though the court has said they should do this, they will not obey. That's what led us to this nonsense. And now we have gone to Ibadan in spite of 2 court orders. And now we're going to likely lose that material. And look, Taminu is a good guy. I've known him all our political life. He's never decamped from PDP. He suffered a lot of them. I remember when they were trying to do his state. I know how they were undermining them, and he still stood with the party. I've seen the little he's trying to do even as caretaker. If he had been properly empaneled, he's the kind of guy that you want to push forward. He has the face, he has the image. We can manage ourselves. But hey, how am I going to help you, especially him being a son? How am I going to help him to agree to an idea that you can build something or nothing? Shall I see them going into a ditch and go and be running with them into it? When they come back from the Court of Appeal, they're going to get the result. And when they get the result, however the result is, the court has not done them injustice. The court would only adjudicate on the arguments you bring before them and the filings. A very senior judge, when I started quarreling with them, judge said, look, Segun, we don't do you people favors. Judgments are written based on, 1, the filings. That filings are very important. 2, the response on law that the others give. And then the little arguments that they adopt before us. And we'll be guided by statute, we'll be guided by precedent, we'll be guided by the Constitution and our conscience. Those who do the hard work before coming to court will win. And when they win, and you people go and bring your lazy approach to judgment and you lose, we can't be responsible for the fact that you didn't do your homework.
Nice place to anchor on that. Let's switch gears to electoral reforms. The Electoral Act was amended by the National Assembly. But what was shocking was, in spite of the hues and cries of the generality of Nigerians.
There are no generalities.
Let me ask you a question now. We saw them. We all live in this country.
You saw your friends. Go ahead.
My friends. I don't have friends. Okay. I'm a journalist. I'm a professional.
I know you are.
Civil society organizations.
Some.
Of course, opposition political parties.
Some.
They protested heavily at the National Assembly.
Is that right?
And in the public, of course, they're guaranteed by the Constitution. Everywhere, protested that, hey, we do not want manual collation of results. Because one of the big takeaways from 2023 general elections that went all the way to the Supreme Court was that the Supreme Court said INEC is only advised to use electronic transmission. That is not mandatory. So now everybody is saying make electronic transmission of election results mandatory. Not, and then they said, oh, we'll do it, but then they now added, they opened the window for manual collation. And everybody said, no, remove that. Before you could drop a pin, the president signed it in less than 24 hours. My question, Segun, you're my brother. We're very honest people, Egba people, we're very honest.
Have you ever met me and not answer a question honestly?
Be honest. Nigerians, this is, the fate of this country depends on not necessarily you. What is the National Assembly and the president, what was the haste all about? What are they afraid of?
Now, you have laid the question. Yes. So now, calmly let me respond.
Absolutely.
When the conversation about the amendment of the Electoral Act was ongoing, the vast majority of these people who like to put placards in people's hands did not attend or pay attention to it. I wrote and paid attention and went to the Senate to go and push my position as to what I wanted in that act as the alternative. Lawmaking is not on the day they do the voting that you lobby. Every constituent has representative in the House of Assembly and the Senate. And that decision on who you send is so critical because when issues like this come up, you ought to be able to go to your people and tell them what's your position, and they ought to be able to bring their position to reflect your voting pattern. But you know what? We joke too much in this country. In the first instance, I have been quite offended by the idea that the Nigerian nation believes that every 4 years they need a new Electoral Act. It's painful that what we should do by reorientation, by attitudinal change, and by punishment and consequence, we have imagined that we can do it by writing laws, which on their own will not even implement themselves. Those are foundational. Now to the Electoral, the act that has been signed is a good act. People imagine things that are not real. For instance, election is a process. You go to the polling unit. There is a machine that already has all the details of the people who are registered in that polling unit stored in there. It doesn't need a flyaway kit or internet to operate. It's there already physically. You walk with your leg manually there. You bring your finger manually. You produce your ID manually. They verify you. So the process of just ensuring that the person holding the ID is the person that wants to exercise the franchise electronically. They give you a piece of paper printed manually. They didn't give you a machine to top print like you are doing ATM. You go into one corner and do something like tipping your hand manually in the ink, Then you fold it, you drop it in a box, a manual box. They have to pour it out and say it's empty. Then they sort it. Your agents are there to collect for your party manually. Then they start counting 1, 2, it will be 1 name, 3. I'm just being funny here. They count it manually. When they finish counting manually, they have to write it on a piece of paper anyway. Otherwise, they won't record it anywhere. There's a form CATA. They record it manually. They give every party agent 1, and then you want a situation where that form CATA is stored on the Iroele. Yeah. Now, the Electoral Act has been written to say, do so, but also know that where you don't have signal, this is the fallback position. You all are some of your friends who are always, they will protest even if they give them food. If they give them food to eat, they will still protest that the salt is not enough. Went there to be screaming and shouting and jumping. And then obviously, we don't make laws on the street, we make laws in the hollow chamber. It was subjected to a vote. They voted, the law was signed. To put an end to the charade, they take it to the president. Most presidents don't even sign a new act when they are going for second term. They would rather delay and then use the act that they are used to do their election. Then like Buhari and a few of them, when they are now about to go, they will sign so people can go. But this guy is brave. He doesn't even know what this act will mean when it starts being operated upon. He signed it. You know the problem with opposition, even though I'm part of us? Our problem is that opposition is strategically lazy. You have about 90 million now registered votes and collected PVC. And all we will do is argue. We should be interested in turnout. And if the people turn out significantly and they turn out well, we should know that it will be almost impossible for anybody to overwhelm an electorate when he's in the minority. The Electoral Act with which Buhari was installed was not an Electoral Act written by Buhari now. You see, what opposition is doing, which is painful, is that opposition is the one that is depressing the electorate by running on a single narrative of your vote will not count, your vote will not count, your vote will not count. If you tell people their vote will not count, why should they bother? So I say, the constitution of some countries, that of the United States, is as small as this. Britain does not even have a written one. Our own is as big as from here to the ceiling. And yet we cannot implement it. So what did I do? I started what you call the alternative movement, that we can go back to the electorate, beg them, plead with them, encourage them to show more interest in this thing. We are to make the people take ownership of the process. We don't have to start assuming that whatever we don't get means that it's bad. The cup may not be full. Developmental cup is always half empty. You have to always view it from the point of view of half empty, so you don't get into inertia. Whether they like it or not, the act is in place. Instead of us to be screaming and shouting, why don't we just get to work and try to get good candidates? What are they doing? They're fighting. So, at the end of the day, if you don't like the act, there's nothing you can do about it. It's now law. You have to wait until you have enough numbers in the State and National Assembly, have enough numbers in the Senate, make sure you bring in sensible people, and then you can get the kind of law you want. And in doing so, also know, for you to have electronic transmission collation that you want, we will need a complete overhaul of the voting process, including electronic machines that allows us to either vote remotely from our houses or vote and it flies away. It's almost like the way we do our ATM. If you took money from your ATM now, immediately your money goes to remote. The technology exists, but maybe we have not developed ourselves for that purpose. And if we have not, we cannot design an electoral act that will give us problems at implementation. For instance, in a nation that you have a lot of electricity glitches, imagine somebody was just to sabotage the electricity and glitched it, maybe in Kanji or something, and then we have a glitch. And for that glitch, if it lasts about 3 hours, and then we say it's all gone. Imagine somebody was just to interfere with it and hack it. There has the paper trail and the electronic trail. We'll get there.
To the extent, that when you started, to the extent that you said, why we fixated unnecessarily over a piece of legislation rather than, attitudinal change, cultural practices, mindset. I agree with you. You're spot on that. But opposition and the generality of Nigerians.
There's no generality of Nigerians. That's what I keep saying. When you say listen,
Shegun,
I want to tell you something. I want to quarrel with that adjective. You see, there is always the.
I did not quarrel.
No, I'm coming. I want to quarrel because you invited me. I'm your guest. I'm quarreling with the use of the word generality. There are 220 million people in this country. Yes. A handful of men cannot stimulate their fans to do protests, and then you call it generality.
The media.
What about me? Do you know who I am? Do you know how many media things I promote and I run and I fund?
We feel the pulse.
I do the same, and I'm trying to tell you that don't say generality. Just say some. You can use a cross section.
Shegun, let's make progress. Number one, there are 97 million. In fact, over 100
million. Did 97 million of them go and protest?
Hold on now. There are over 100 million registered voters, and then there are some who are still considering whether to join or not because of. But this is the issue. I agree with you that what we need most is attitudinal change.
Absolutely.
But then you cannot, fault the concerns of Nigerians.
So I'm not faulting their concerns.
Remove generality, and then the concerns of opposition because in 2023 there was a glitch that did not happen in every other election except the presidential election. There was no glitch except in that presidential election. And then here's the one that bothers me because I teach process management.
Thank you.
I teach management. I teach also management. Now, when this law is passed from the National Assembly, this is the shocker for me. It is meant to go to the INEC to review it within 30 days. It is meant to go to Ministry of Finance, who funds INEC, to review it in 90 days or in 30 days. It's meant to go to about 4 or 5 different, agencies. It didn't go to and that document is 120 pages. I read it. There's no way President Tinubu would have read that document overnight. But then he hurriedly appended his signature. Mm-hmm. What is the undue haste?
Okay.
So the question is, that's number 2. Is this a pretext to rigging 2027?
Okay.
Yes.
When you had it on paper,
yes,
he defeated you. You say if it is not electronic, you will defeat him. Well, that's in the future. We'll see the outcome. He signed it. You query. If we told his assent, you would have still queried. Don't create a nation of damn you do, damn you don't. You are a living member of the world community now. Do you know how many executive orders the President of America has signed only by a stroke of the pen? And then all of those executive orders have had far-reaching implications even for the geopolitics of the world. Do you know that by a presidential fiat, he has deployed significant help to help us degrade insecurity in our country? A president is an executive authority in motion. He is not tone deaf or should not be tone deaf. Neither should he be blind to the issues that are trending and interesting and even probably heightened in the society. He gets significant reports. All of the organs, including the legislature and the judiciary, draw their execution from this executive. That responsibility is so serious. If he signs anything into law, that is the law. You can, oh, I wish they didn't pour the water on the ground. It's on the ground already. Oh, I wish they spent 30 days. 30 days, he has decided to read it overnight. That you did not read 120 pages in 3 weeks does not mean that a fast reader cannot read it overnight. If he sees the areas that are contentious, which is, oh, should we do it fully electronic and remove manual? If he's persuaded by the argument that persuaded the Senate, that persuaded the voting pattern of the House of Assembly, why will he now be having an alternative point of view to what has been passed? What you are doing, my brother, and by inference, your colleagues. And that's why I started by saying we need to now come and do a new refresher course. Let's even call ourselves together as professionals in this field, as partakers of this grain, and say, okay, let's now come and review what's the new way forward given what we are seeing in the world. We cannot insist that on all issues, our responsibility is to use the small platforms or big platforms we have to constantly be, regurgitating arguments that are kindergarten. The facts are that once this thing started more than 2 years. I already told you. I wrote a position paper. I went to the house. When I got there, I said, the alternative, they collected it. They invited me. I stood on the podium. I told them what I was concerned about. I told them, I wrote the clauses I wanted them to. I passed it on to them. They gave me the opportunity. They even joked. Say, there's no alternative. I said, yes, there is an alternative. Where were the others? Political parties cannot stumble. They can't wake up in the midnight and start saying, we don't agree, we don't agree what? What were your members doing? You don't have a uni-party as a national senate and rep. And if your members are decamping, I tried to introduce a clause into the Electoral Act. You know what that clause was? I tried to say, since we have seen that people are just decamping anyhow, after having one mandate, that we should write a clause into our Electoral Act that says that if you decamp, you are not eligible to fly the flag of a party until after 4 years, just to slow down the campaign. Nations are led by thinkers, not by emotional ones who are just trying to instigate society against themselves. The fact of the matter is, it's a good act. I've read it, I've reviewed it, I've subjected it to a lot. The only thing I would have preferred they didn't say, which they said in that act, I would have preferred they didn't remove the delegate system. Because, let me tell you why. Now that they've said it must be either a full Congress, the indirect primaries, or what they call it, or direct primaries or consensus, and they gave the consensus, it must be out if everybody agrees. The major problem I see is that the resources required for political parties, not the fat boys of APC, to create electronic register is not small. Before you can create bankable electronic register, you will have to deploy some effort. That means that it has become extremely expensive for aspirants. If I want to go to a primary, and I know that it's three delegates per ward, times 236 ward, I get about 760. If I decide, okay, I'm going to vote a certain amount of money for them, I'll be out of it. They may vote and they may not vote. Do you know what's going to cost me to go through the entire polling, the entire ward structures we have? That's a lot of logistics. Do you know how long it will cost us to be able to ensure that we can even validate the votes? Do you know what it will cost us to make sure that the person that is in the register and calling himself Mr. Oluwade would be somebody that is the real one, somebody else is not? Do you know, it's a lot of work. And you people brought this on us because you choose to insist that, oh, once an outcome does not favor you in an election, it is rigged. Sometimes the man who won is also a victim. He's a victim of your desire to win, which you didn't get, and now he must be guilty. Did the person who win, was it the one that wrote the Electoral Act? Was it INEC? You will leave INEC, who conducted an election, and you'll be beating the winner. That's too much of a jeopardy. You need to help me on this. You need to help me to get us to know that all of the things we complain about in our election, they are all human errors. And if we started changing our ways, if we stop putting all of these shenanigans into it, if we understand that service is about serving people, and you don't need to serve people by force. You should present yourself so that they have an option of picking you. But if they don't pick you, they have not offended you. Brilliant. Then we'll be able to get a better. We're not the only country running democracy, and we cannot be the only country that will be singing, shouting, dancing, solely on everything.
Segun, I want us to do this, rapid fire.
I'm enjoying you.
One bit of this act, a lot of the act is actually good.
Exactly.
Like I told you, I read it thrice.
Are you going to contest an election?
No.
Okay, just
I need to know. Yes. Now, the question is this: 1 minute or less. One other contentious part is where they said vote riggers, violent purveyors in elections and all of that. Those who do vote buying, that the punishment was 5 million and jail term, 5 million plus jail term. In the wisdom of the National Assembly members, they removed the jail term and just left the fine, monetary fine. And the response of informed societies, why? Is it because the members of the National Assembly themselves know they are as guilty as their, boys who do this? 1 minute or less.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind.
Okay.
It's blowing in the wind.
To conclude on this, what should be the response of opposition on this whole issue of electoral reforms?
I always say to opposition, usually I'm opposition.
Yes.
And I'm hoping and holding my breath for the Court of Appeal. The underbelly of APC is very soft. They are cheaply beatable.
Advise them, Segun. What should
I'm just saying, the underbelly of the APC is very soft.
Are you sure?
Very, very. They are cheaply beatable. Cheaply. But you know the problem? The problem is that the one I like to call Timu Martin Luther King. That's what when I want to joke with him, that's what I call Peter Obi. Timu Martin Luther King. What he doesn't seem to understand is that the biggest disaster that he himself is even doing to this journey is his inability to stand in one place. So that those who want to follow him at least know where. He can't be here today. Some of them will be here. He will move. He will lose some. Come here. He'll be here. They will stay. He will move. He will lose some. It can't be that way. And why I call him to Martin Luther King is that if he had been really Martin Luther King as Martin Luther King got to be, he would have understood that once he embarked on that journey and put his hand on the plow, he had no time to look back. And that would have given him serious traction. People who want to be governors, people who want to be reps, people who want to be assembly, people who want to harvest national frustration, because we are all frustrated and we think better is possible. The question then is, under what platform? Okay. And people don't have that time. As for the Methuselah of the voting process, that's what I like to call Atiku. I think sometimes the leader must understand when his time is up. He has the right, to his credit, to do the man in the arena, fall again, rise again, fall again, rise again. But look, this country is designed in a very complex way. We do not have the same demography relative to childbearing, multiple wives and all of that across board. So there must be a clever way we introduce some balance so that we don't quarrel all the time. And I fear for the North that if they are not very, very careful, if the 2027 election is won, in spite of all these things they are doing, they may have lost the plot forever. Because you can look at what's going on in the Southeast now. There are tougher boys in charge of government there. You can't push Soludo over. You can't push Uti over. You can't push my friend Mba over. And certainly you can't put Governor General Zodima over. That would maybe mean that even if Bola the president does not win that place, you can be absolutely sure that he will get more than the type of numbers he got the last time. You can see what's happening in the North Central. It's a full house. Everybody's on board, including even Plateau. Now, why will the Northeast or the Northwest, who naturally will be the ones we should look to after the Southern period, why would they make life so difficult for us to such a point that when it is their turn, we too will now begin to behave like deaf and dumb and be insisting that as soon as they pay you in the street or whatever the song is, we must be disciplined to understand that there is some form of rotation. And that rotation is not designed because one wants to be tribalistic. It is to anchor the country in such a way that outcomes are a bit predictable. But hey, may the best man win.
Let's do scenario.
Best man win.
Let's do scenario. You touched on Peter Obi. Now, you had invited him to come over to return to the PDP.
Who?
Peter Obi.
Yes, now.
So that means the PDP is now open to giving him. But is the PDP, the first question is...
Nobody is going to dash anybody ticket.
Yes.
He can't even be dashed ticket where he is. Okay. If Peter wanted to be dashed a ticket, he should have registered his own party. He should have stayed in his own party. He should have been in his own party, a bit like Showunmi, and nobody will quarrel. But if you must subject yourself to democracy, you must subject yourself to primaries of your party. And that's why I laugh when they say Atiku should step down for him. You can't do that. The law does not, we don't have an age ceiling. We don't. We only have a lower ceiling. Even if you are 90 and you think you want to contest, it's the responsibility of people to reject you at the polls. So invariably, I invited him to the PDP more than a year ago. Yeah. I said to him, I look for on his behalf, and because I want the Igbos to truly be included. I looked on his behalf and said, dude, come back now. If you do come back, we'll struggle, most likely you'll get the ticket. You will also be giving the party some energy, because a lot of energy is there. And then we can see. But of course, these are personal decisions. He's made a personal decision to stay in the ADC. If you look at the ADC now, they've not even done 2 primaries. They're already shooting themselves in Edo, because I actually believe with the vein with which Ovie was speaking, the place is divided already. The Odogu, or what's that man's name? Odigi Oyegun, and only in one small Edo, in Edo where Akpakomiza, my man is already shouting, Akpakomiza, 2.5 million. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, elections are referendums on 2 sides. It's a referendum on the ruling party and what they're doing, which they can come and tell us. But it's also a referendum on the opposition and the promise they bring.
Let's play scenario. So Peter Obi returns to PDP, or he's even in ADC, and he gets the ticket. Now he's going to square off against a sitting...
Bola will beat him.
Bola Tinubu, just hold on. And
in ADC will beat him.
So, but if it's PDP, he will not beat him.
The reason is simple.
No, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. Then you can take all the... So, on the record of APC as of this morning, here, on the record of APC, insecurity, economy, mass poverty, healthcare, disaster, name it.
If I answer
on the record of APC, who wins between Peter Obi and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
If I answer this question, APC people, you guys owe me a lot of money. There is no such on the record that you can bandy. If you want to talk about insecurity, and I'm being very serious now, a Bola Tinubu government has succeeded in bringing the Germans, the French, and the Americans to deploy boots on ground for training, logistics, equipment, and what?
What does that say about us?
Can I finish, please? A problem that you don't have enough equipment. You can't manufacture, you have to buy. The next best thing is collaboration. And if he's able to bring collaboration, which others could not bring, you can't call that a problem. Because you cannot truly say Bola Tinubu started insecurity. That's like being wicked, and I won't allow you to do that.
Nobody saying.
I'm just saying. So if a problem that is difficult to solve is being ridden, be careful not to think that you can solve it, even when you cannot even answer a single question on that matter. Number 2, on the economy. If all the rating agencies in the world, World Bank, IMF, everybody tells us that our economy is now out of the woods and that it's now a bit more predictable. And you can find evidence in our bond market, in our stock exchange market, in the kinds of names and the opportunities they give us now in terms of our rating abroad. You can't say that is a bad thing. If you say, in what? Okay, look at it, is made sure that local government gets more money. It basically brings government to the people closer. He's ensured that your state governors are not even owing pensions anymore. They're paying salary as I went due, unlike the last time when they will be owing salary. So, look, my brother, when you will ask me this question and answer, you say APC has given. APC, you will owe me money, because I answer the questions honestly. It's difficult for Peter to beat or even make a good showing on the election, except under PDP, and I'll tell you why, because you have asked. The People's Democratic Party of Nigeria has had 27 years of ward ESCO, polling units, people, local government. You know, the whole thing, after 27 years, that asset is there. What Peter lacks is structure. He can't on his own conjure up people who will stand at polling units. Even when PDP is sleeping and snoring and dozing. Once you say PDP, there will be at least 10 people that will answer power to the people. And it was evident in the Abuja election. Never mind that BK was basically, people were saying they are stepping down. BK was coordinating such a joke, embarrassing joke. He couldn't still stop the PDP from winning councillors. He couldn't stop us from winning Gwagwalada. Some of the places that even the APC are dancing and claiming they won, those are our votes that Wike helped equal to them. And the truth is that this party, the ADC, what could they do? They were just shouting, oh, Koto, meow, 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 all over the place. They will give them a result sheet. They themselves, after losing, will start to mutilate the result sheet with their own hands. Then they will start putting it out there and be screaming. Who mutilated it? Was it mutilated before it was given to you? Is the mutilated copy you have, is that the one that all the other agents have? You people that are in charge of our country, don't implode it with misinformation and disinformation. When you go for an election, if you win in a polling unit, the jubilation there will even be too much. Nobody will come and... Look, I'm not saying everything is perfect. I'm not saying things are not doctored somewhere. But you are giving it too much oxygen. There's enough people in the country who are looking for inspirational leaders to stand up. And people are willing to stand. You know what people are not willing to do? People are not willing to go with people who are not bringing profound ideas. People like me. We come up with profound ideas. If I could, I'll run a better campaign than they are running. I just don't want a situation where we have this. I have Segun Showunmi dissipated energy for 27 years, hoping that they even get it. Imagine it, my brother. We're in opposition and we're fighting as to who the candidate should be. How sensible is that?
Let's wrap up.
Wrap up. The people in the fighting.
Can the youth trust the PDP? Less than a minute, Segun. Based on everything that we
gave them the first young man as speaker in this country. We gave them the first young governor. We signed the Not Too Young to Run bill to her. We gave them all of the people they know and know. We funded their parents. We gave their parents the opportunity to be able to have cars and expand the space. We gave them life abundance. We gave them a lot of things. Never mind the fact that a bunch of criminal crooks are trying to make us look bad. We ain't that bad. When we have to audit this administration and the APC, some of them will have to ask for space in the ground to hide. You know why? Under PDP, everybody had life abundant. You may say whatever you want. Look, they are running a big budget. And people are crying that they can't find money. And people are crying that they can't get a living. Do you know what the exchange rate was under us and what is under? Although it's not a measure, don't get me wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that even the general feel of togetherness. Can't you see how divided the country is just because we gave it to them for a couple of years? Do you know what it took us to keep Nigeria united? Did you ever hear people saying that they are marginalized because they are Igbos under our watch? Or did you ever hear anybody say, oh, they are not giving them their dues under us? We created the playbook of Democratic Party management. Really? They are learning from us. All the key players that are even in APC doing magic are our people. Really? We gave them Akpabio. We gave them Wike. We loaned them all our boys. They don't have they are people, the APC people, too indolent and extremely lazy. But for our boys who have gone, our men who have gone there, what have they themselves been able to show for themselves? The only person that thinks in that party is Ashaju, and now he's in a golden cage. Suddenly all his boys, their knees are weak. And these are our own people that are even... Look, we're at the University of Politics in Nigeria. Okay. And I pray that we'll survive.
I'm sure the voters would have a huge say on that. Now, these elections, FCT council polls that held last week Saturday, some have alleged, including the candidate of AMAC, ADC in AMAC, have alleged it was not an election, it was a selection. And that he actually won, he claimed he won for AMAC, and that, that everything was rearranged. And then this is the curious case that I noticed. The INEC returning officer in Edo State governorship election was brought to Abuja to become the returning, officer in this FC council polls. The question is why?
Okay, let me educate you.
So, do you believe that election was free, fair, and credible?
Now,
yes.
The organization that is statutorily mandated to organize election is INEC.
Yes.
And part of their work is to make sure that they deploy their own staff to help them manage it. So I can't answer that. That's how they deploy. They've always deployed like that. It was like the 1990s did, and it's not going to change. I imagine that sometimes Wiki will quarrel with his wife. And sometimes his kids will not agree with him. How much more is relative? The point I'm making is that people are going to live their life in spite of what you are doing. And it cannot be mutually exclusive. It's not because one Wiki or one Showunmi is doing politics. Therefore, every other Showunmi and every other Wikis in the world cannot also live. And come on. Look, you interrupted me. The thing with my brother Mo is that I commend your industry. You only learn to be better by being there. When you did a campaign, which I followed very well, if you had taken that ticket from PDP, you probably would have even been able to do an upset. That party you belong to is a party that is still forming. It has not even gotten to the stage of maybe now beginning to norm. And they are beginning to quarrel among themselves a lot just to settle early issues, housekeeping issues. The commitment of members is divided along their patron. Those who are committed to Atiku are articulated, which we named. Those who are committed to Obi are obedient, which we also named. Those who are committed to Rotimi, I don't know what they call them, maybe they are Rotimilated, or Rottweiler. The point I'm making is that what it would take for them to become one is a journey. And they have not even started it or approached it well. Every man is bellowing according to the assumption that his side is king on the day. And the election did not happen. And the reason why that election even went that way was that there was significant apathy, which is 7%. When people don't turn up, it favors the incumbent. And if the incumbent wants to be bragging based on Abuja, because the president is my brother and he knows I have a bit of a soft spot for him, I will advise him. The election in Abuja is the reason why the president should be worried about his own election. No president should be happy that only 7% turned up in spite of all the huge infrastructure that they seem to be doing. It means that the people who did not turn up has already voted against you. Enthusiastic people don't stay out. Frustrated people, tired people, disgruntled people, rabble-rousers stay off. And if those ones who stayed off are that many, Ashaju, get back to the drawing board. Some of your analysts are not as sharp as me. These things may not reflect that it's good for you.
Don't use our platform to campaign.
No, I'm not campaigning for you. I'm just telling you, because the president. Okay, Mr. President, let me remove your name. Since you don't like his name, and he's your brother.
I like
too.
His name.
Okay,
but don't
and it was
campaign for a job.
I'm not campaigning for me job.
Shegun,
But Tinubu's job is mine for the taking.
Shegun,
If I wanted
question.
Let me finish my statement. But you asked me one more last one. The point I'm making is that once you have 7% turnout in an election where there's enough evidence of, roads and all of that, you should be worried. That's not a sign that you are going to win the next election, no.
2027 general elections. Is it already won and lost?
You don't hear my last comment now.
Say it clearly. Is it won and lost already?
It's almost won, but it could also be lost. Why did I say it's almost won? You see, oh God, I love this analysis when I do that. You have to go back to the basics and go and look at the baseline. What's the baseline you look at in politics? Patterns. You look at the baseline of religion. You look at the baseline of loyalty purchase, that temporary loyalty purchase. You look at the baseline of the key territorial commanders, governors, and when you look at all those baseline, it's almost won. But what makes me say it could be lost? You have to look at the voting spectrum, how large the voting numbers are. Hey, there's still a lot of presidential numbers in there.
Your brother and my brother, Ashwaji Bola Tinubu, has he weakened or strengthened democratic culture since he came into office?
It is not his duty to help opposition manage themselves.
No.
Just
Democratic
listen.
culture.
Just listen. You can ask me a question and I put the words in my mouth again. It is not his duty to help opposition manage themselves. If the opposition will just tell themselves, hey, better to win and be fighting for the spoils than to be fighting before we even get to the day of battle, because that is a sure loss. In that regard, I'm not sure you can blame him for the benefits that is accruing to him. Some of these governors that are decamping to his party, they are decamping not for the same reasons. Some are decamping because they want favors. But some are decamping because they are also trying to tell the North in clear language that, look, when your son was there, he did his 8 years. Never mind that his first 2 years when he was there, he was even ill. Nobody rocked the boat. We allowed people to produce 2 Northerners. No Southerner contested in 2019 until your son finished and your son won. Why are you making it seem as if those who coupled Nigeria together, coupled it together so that you can be irritating everybody when it is the turn of the Southerners? You did it under Obasanjo. You of course, he outfoxed you. You did it under Jonathan. Of course, that one allowed himself to be bullied off the ballot. And if you want to bully Bala, well, good luck to you if you can. So basically, that's what I'm saying. I think that what we will be considering are about 5. 1, how relatable is the presidency and his team? Because the president is one man, the presidency is a team. They have to be more relatable. We'll be contemplating how much of life abundance has happened to the people. 3, we'll be contemplating and be looking at what the promise will be. Because you're not going to just be telling us projection to progression. That's not it. You have to campaign in actual issues. Then we're going to be hoping that we have a clean election and that may the best man win. And I'm contesting. May God give me the platform. I'm getting for PDP. Let's go and struggle ticket. And when I get the ticket, may God in his infinite mercy help me to win. Because really, I'm better than everybody on the platform now. By miles.
Well,
and if I'm not going to win, I'm going to back a Yewa man.
The people will have a say on that.
I've told you my point. I didn't say it. Did I not tell you that I'm going to wait for their verdict? Did I tell you that if they don't vote for me, I'm going to be crying already? It's always a pleasure. I believe that anybody in the public space that is able should make himself, subject himself openly, honestly, and truthfully.
Absolutely.
I'm not responsible for how they interpret what I say. I only own what I say, and I own them 100%.